It's ending anyway. We're rounding the turn. It's ending anyway. But the vaccines are going to be incredible. They'll be very quick. Normal life, that's what we want, right? Normal life. We want normal life. We just want normal life. It's happening very quickly. And next year will be the greatest economic year in the history of our country.
So part of President Trump's closing message is this idea that we're rounding the corner with this pandemic. We're not. The Washington Post puts it this way. The Washington Post puts it like this. President Trump falsely declares coronavirus is ending as virus rates spike and financial markets dip. And it's the movement with the markets that could present a new challenge for this president, who has long relied on the economy as a campaign talking point. I want to bring in Anthony Scaramucci. He knows the president well. He was communications director in the Trump White House for just a bit. He also knows the markets as the founder of investment firm Skybridge Capital. He is now encouraging people to vote for Joe Biden. Good to see you again, Anthony. I want to tap into that financial expertise, first of all, because NBC News is reporting that Ivanka Trump was in Beverly Hills on Monday for a campaign fundraiser, an unusual move this close to Election Day. My colleagues over at CNBC reporting that Wall Street donors are keeping their distance from the cash-strapped Trump campaign in these final days. What are you hearing from your own Wall Street connections right now about their faith in this campaign?
Well, listen, the adage following the money on Wall Street has always been true. The money's gone to Joe Biden almost 5-1, Craig. I would say Wall Street executives are looking at the situation and want what the president was saying to those people in Allentown on Monday, which is a return to normalcy. The president's calling about a return to normal life. That's exactly what we want. We're seeking your removal so that we can end this disastrous situation that you've created for America. And the Wall Street executives know that Mr. Trump, the president, has made America sicker, weaker, and poorer as a result of his decision-making around the pandemic and some of the things that he's done with our strategic alliances around the world. So, if you follow the money on Wall Street, he's going to lose decidedly on Tuesday. If you look at the predicted markets, my friends on Wall Street love trading this sort of activity. And if you look at predicted markets, it's 2-1 to the vice president. And usually when people are putting their money down, Craig, I'm going with that more than the average polling, if you will.
Follow the money. Washington Post also reporting, Anthony, that President Trump privately told donors at a closed-door gathering that it would be very tough for the GOP to hold on to the Senate. According to an attendee there, the president reportedly said, quote, "I don't want to help some of them." The National Republican Senatorial Committee pushing back on that report, though. Are you surprised at all by the candor there? I mean, is the president waving the white flag on the upper chamber?
I'm not surprised because the president's always giving you a tell. He said a few weeks ago that he was going to disappear. The other day, he wanted to ride off in the Mack truck that he was looking at and talking about the truckers. And so he's always giving you a tell about his natural anxieties. I think one of the things that we've all found surprising about the president, he's remarkably insecure. So a lot of the stuff that he's doing with that bravado is bluster and overcompensation. And so for him admitting that they're going to likely lose the Senate doesn't surprise me. But I think the Supreme Court nomination and that process and the cynicism around that process, people are going to look back on that and say, wow, that really hurt President Trump a week prior to Election Day. And it really hurt those guys in the Senate that were trying to hold on. Susan Collins, interestingly enough, they didn't need her vote. And so she voted, obviously, against that choice. But I'm not sure if that's going to help.
Next hour, President Obama is going to be in Orlando, Florida, rallying voters for Joe Biden again. You know President Trump well. What goes through his mind? What's he thinking as he sees and listens to President Obama launch blistering attack after blistering attack against him out on the campaign trail?
He's thinking, wow, this guy really knows me. He knows exactly how to attack me. And if you notice, he doesn't tweet about President Obama that much because he doesn't want to ignite it further. He's got 180 million people following him around on social media. And if you notice, he's not sticking it to President Obama because he frankly can't. And so typical of a bully, when a bully is met up with somebody that outmatches them both intellectually and physically if you're in a schoolyard, of course, but let's just say intellectually for this purpose, there's nowhere for the president to go. So you notice, Craig, he's just not tweeting about him. And of course, most of the American people are enjoying the attacks. I will say this about President Trump. He's remarkable at unifying all of us. He just happens to be unifying us against him, Craig. And if you think about all the people that are involved now in trying to help the vice president win this election, it's an interesting assortment of people, from Rick Wilson, myself, Stephen Schmidt, all the way down to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez on the other side of the political spectrum. So I applaud the president for unifying the country. It just happens to be against him.
All right, we're going to have to leave it there. Completely unrelated. I thoroughly enjoy that Superman Muhammad Ali comic book cover in the background. Anthony Scaramucci.
All right, well, there you go. That's good for Room Raider.
That's, oh yes, Room Raider. That's right. Thanks.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.